I've always loved nature and being in nature, and I always knew that I wanted to be a scientist. And as I went through school, I started exploring the different options. And what really piqued my interest was genetics. So started looking more at genetics, and I had a great teacher who really helped me to develop that passion. And initially I thought I would be wanting to work on single-celled organisms, super quick, super easy. But when I started my first role out of university working with plants, I discovered that the added complexity of a multicellular organism that has to adapt everything within its environment and can't move, but also the kind of polyploidy of different plants and the fact that you can have multiple copies of the same gene all over the place. So having that complexity was what really drew me into plants from a genetics kind of perspective. So my career passage started off with working for British American Tobacco, where I was working in plant research, initially as a technician, and then worked my way up to starting to manage my own projects and doing research. I really enjoyed doing the marker development and being able to design and implement breeding programs to try and bring genes together into a single variety. And that was brilliant and I really enjoyed it. However, wanting to kind of settle down a bit more and put down some roots in a single location, I then moved to the University of Cambridge, where I now manage the horticultural facilities at the Sainsbury Laboratory, which is a plant science lab. So my current role is more about facilitating other people's research. So I manage a wonderful team, but also trying to maintain our facilities as cutting edge as possible. Whether or not you want to do a PhD or whether or not you want to work in academia or industry is a very personal choice, and it's something that you should not assume that there is a single pathway. I did not do a PhD, and that was partly because I didn't feel like I'd found the right fit for me at the time in my life when I was ready to do one. And I chose to go into industry because I hadn't followed the academic career of doing a master's and a PhD. And then having gone into industry, it was the realization that a PhD wasn't necessary to be able to do the research and drive projects forward once you gain the experience that you need. And I was able to gain that experience whilst also earning money, which paid better than a PhD stipend, so that was nice. And it's really a question of where your passion is, and I was able to pursue the research that I wanted to do without having to go down the academic route. That's not to say that you shouldn't go down the academic route, but it's not essential, and you shouldn't feel like you're going to be restricted if you don't do that. Having said that, I believe that you can't really go into academia without a PhD, but industry there's lots of opportunities, there's lots of varied roles, and you can certainly gain that without having that PhD. So I think that the way that the science in all spheres is moving forwards is more and more towards big data and having lots and lots of data available. So we need to produce quality data, but we also need scientists that can then analyse that data. And the best way to analyse data is generally through coding. So if you're kind of unsure on what skill set you might want to look into, I would suggest starting to look at basic coding and seeing where that can take you.